Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to talk about the 9 concepts that will make you a fast learner. I've read 27 books about this. I'm working on my 4th degree because of these concepts, and I've been working on fast learning for the past 8 years. The first pattern that fast learners follow is that they are humble. If you think that you know everything, then you're probably not going to look for ways to get better. And you've probably seen a 19-year-old before who thinks they know everything about, say, working out. And they're not really open to anyone else knowing more than them because they have it all figured out. Well, naturally, that person's not going to learn a lot because they're not humble. This sometimes also happens with like juniors in college. They think that they're experts when it's literally not possible to be an expert only after having spent 2 years doing something. But the humble person realizes that they don't know everything and they're willing to learn. So fast learners are humble. And the second pattern that fast learners follow is that they are consistent. Fast learners realize that consistency, it builds momentum, and then over time, this learning eventually creates a type of a hunger for knowledge. Now, knowledge needs to turn into skill for it to be valuable, so knowledge alone is not enough if you're going to continue growing and developing. But at first, learning is a discipline. You have to make yourself do it. But then over time, you can develop an appetite for learning similar to an appetite for food. Think about the last time that you had a food craving and then you were satisfied whenever you ate the food. Well, a similar thing can happen with your knowledge because you acquire knowledge at first because you make yourself do it, but then over time you develop this kind of appetite, and that appetite drives you to learn more. So over time you fall into a consistency, and it's easier to be consistent because you have that appetite. So a consistent learner is also someone who is not going to feel as overwhelmed because they're consistently executing on the tasks and the goals that they set. And whenever you don't see as much progress, you can point back to that consistency and be encouraged. The third pattern that fast learners follow is that they are action-oriented. Fast learners, they understand that if they're not sure what to do next, then they just do something. Don't just sit there. If you're not sure about what you're supposed to do some kind of an action, do some research, and put a plan together so that you can continue moving in some direction. And if it's not forward, it's easier to steer a moving ship than it is to get a ship going, or however that phrase goes. But the longer that you go without learning, the harder it is to get started again. And action-oriented people, they fail more often, so you need to be ready to fail. And you have to be okay with failing, but each failure moves you in the right direction and it makes you smarter because now you know what not to do. So if you're gonna be a fast learner, then you have to be someone who's okay with failing, and part of that is being action-oriented. Don't just sit there. The fourth pattern that fast learners follow is that they write things down. I've learned that it's much easier to recognize that I need to change something in my life than it is to actually write it down and then follow through with that change and then have some kind of a process to make sure that I don't just do that for a little while, but I do it for the long term. It's an important part of research because many authors, they write to understand. So if you have a problem and you don't really know how to solve it, a great solution is start writing, start journaling. And I was actually at lunch with one of my friends recently, and he was reading presidential biographies, and he told me that the last 3 he's read, I said, what do you notice about the presidents? That, they're highly effective people. What are some things that they did? He said, one, they all hated the job because it was so demanding, but he said they also all journaled. So presidents that are very effective people in the past, these guys they lived a long time ago, they're dead now, but they understood that writing helps you come to solutions. Another way that you can write things down is when you hear some kind of a significant idea, just keep a note in your phone and write that idea down whenever you hear it. And my wife does that, and she really enjoys it. The fifth pattern that fast learners follow is that they leverage multiple formats of learning. As I mentioned earlier, reading and writing, very important, but also they are highly demanding on your brain. And you can still learn even when you're not reading and writing by using audio formats. And you can also watch videos at lunch. YouTube is a great place for education. A lot of things that I've learned and changed in my life, I watched on YouTube. That's why I'm trying to give back by making these videos. But if you read when you're the most fresh, you write when you're trying to understand what you read, and then you listen to audiobooks and podcasts when you're working out or in the car, then you watch YouTube videos when you're eating lunch. I've done that for years, and I've noticed that the results in my life, I've learned so many things so quickly by using these different kind of formats. And these techniques have helped me really internalize the information, and they've helped me change my life as a result. But in addition to spending time learning, you also need to make sure that you have time where you're just quiet. and you let your brain just think. Because a lot of people, they're just so busy, they have so much noise all day long, all month long, all year long, and they don't spend much time just thinking about what are you doing and what do you need to change. For me, the most thinking that I do happens when I'm just on a run and I let my mind wander. The sixth pattern that fast learners follow is that they're able to explain complex concepts simply. One of the books that I read in seminary, they encouraged the students to explain the things that you're learning to your spouse, because sometimes the reading and writing is highly demanding and it's several years that it takes to finish the program normally. And they said, don't do it alone, bring things up with your spouse. And one of the things I noticed was, as I went to explain the concepts, I would be able to identify the gaps that I had in the knowledge of those concepts, because my wife would say, that doesn't make sense. Or I'd be talking and I'd go to explain something that I thought I knew, and then I realized when explaining that I didn't know it. And one time I was discussing, this still happens, and I haven't figured this out, but I just know that working at explaining is gonna make me understand things better. But recently I was discussing discourse analysis. That's a class that I'm doing right now for advanced Greek grammar for my PhD in the New Testament. And I realized when I was explaining the concept that I didn't know it as well as I thought. And one time I was just talking to someone about it, and then later on I went back and asked my wife, hey, did I explain that well? And she's like, I didn't really understand it. And I was like, okay, great. That doesn't mean that there's a problem with discourse analysis. That means there's a problem with how I understood it. But then when I went back to remind myself exactly what, minor subpoint of the topic I was trying to explain, what that point really was, I realized, oh yeah, okay. And then that I identified the gap in knowledge, fixed the gap in knowledge, and now I'm better able to explain as a result. So practice explaining complex concepts, and that'll help you become a fast learner. The seventh concept that fast learners follow is they manage their devices. I've noticed that some of the best learners, they are not controlled by their phones. You can put your phone on grayscale, you can set a time limit. Maybe for you, only get on it during the day and not in the evening, and the part of the day that you're not doing important and effective work. But if you want to be a fast learner, then you have to eliminate the constant distracting part of your life that is your phone. Either don't have it with you, set it up to be on do not disturb during the day, or get a new phone, whatever. Recently I heard a guy who's going all watch. He's not actually having a phone, so I haven't been able to see. He's on YouTube. I haven't seen how that's gone for him. But either way, you have to stop being distracted by your phone if you're going to be a fast learner. The eighth pattern that fast learners follow is they prioritize deep work, and this is the opposite of shallow work. What is deep work? Well, it's studying, writing, creating high quality content. Maybe for you, if you're not a knowledge worker, your deep work is another type of work, but it's not reading. Either way, it's different than shallow work, which is multitasking, checking emails, scrolling, low impact tasks. And most people have to do some kind of low impact tasks in their jobs. Few people have so many individuals working for them that they only do the high impact things. So most people, you have to do busy work. But here's the thing, you should batch that to all one time during the week or during the day in the afternoon, not whenever it's the morning and you should be getting the most important and cognitively demanding tasks done. Batch that busy work to later in the afternoon or at the end of the week. And when you do that, you're able to really put your time and your best hours into the hardest tasks. And then here's another little life hack. The stuff that doesn't get done is not the most important things. If you batch those busy work tasks till the afternoon, the thing is everybody's gonna not get something done. And some people are just really good at choosing what they don't get done. They choose to not get done low impact tasks versus choosing to not get done the high impact studying because they were checking their email in the morning. So set up boundaries so that you can do the high impact important work first, and then batch the busy work. Spend most of your time and your best hours doing deep work. The ninth pattern that fast learners follow is they control their environment. One of my favorite authors is Cal Newport, and he talks about putting yourself in an environment that helps you instead of hindering you. And we all know what it's like to have something important that needs to get done, and then you do it from home instead of from an office or from another location. And then you get distracted getting a snack, doing laundry, or organizing, and that's all because you chose the wrong environment. For some people, it's a coffee shop. Recently, I have hated coffee shops because they're so loud and there's so much going on, but that helps some people to focus. For me, recently, it's been the library that has really helped me lock in and get some things done. But either way, if you choose an environment that helps you focus instead of hinders your focus, you're gonna be a fast learner. Well, hey guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. My name is Michael Thompson. I'm a husband, youth pastor, and PhD student. And these principles, they've just changed my life. And so I'm just trying to share them and give back. But ultimately, the goal with this kind of content is not money or time management just in and of itself. It's honoring God with your life and with the way that you work. So get out there, use these 9 concepts to be a fast learner. And if you want to understand the art of reading, which is part of being a fast learner, click this video and we'll see you guys in the next one.